Brad.
Hello, Kristen.
My professor in whiskey today is
Jason.
He's turning it over to you, buddy.
He is the resident expert at the Wine Center on Irish whiskey.
Okay, well, you know, we've been talking a lot, Irish, obviously, St. Patty's Day coming up.
You got it.
I've told you my fears of whiskey just because I've had some experiences in the past, but Jason says that's because I'm not drinking the right kind.
Correct. You're probably not drinking the right stuff.
We're changing that today.
Yeah, right. I'm going to learn all about it. So tell me what you brought.
This is the entire Jameson lineup. Jameson Irish whiskey. The category of Irish whiskey is on fire. It's probably one of the fastest growing categories, and we'll kind of get into the reasons for that. And Jameson is leading the way. When people think Irish whiskey, they think of Jameson. So they're used to seeing the blended version on the shelf that we have here, but what we brought is the 12-year, the Gold Reserve, the 18-year, the very rare Vintage Select, which is like a 25-year aged Irish whiskey, and then one of the whiskeys of the year, Redbreast, is kind of their unique.
6 bottles of whiskey that I have to finish in the next hour. This could get very interesting.
And a little something after we're done with that to show what you can do with it in a little mixed drink as
okay,
well.
All right, very cool. So Jason, tell me, you were talking the spelling on whiskey is different for different types. Not all of them use an E in the whiskey. Why is that?
Well, what they're trying to do is make sure that there's no confusion between styles. So Ireland and Scotland are very passionate about their product. So Scotland spells theirs without an E, and Ireland spells it with an E. And Canada spells it without an E because they don't want it to get it confused with American whiskey.
Okay.
Spells it with an E. So it has nothing to do other than just personal pride and national preference.
But there are differences between Irish whiskey, Scotch whiskey, and Kentucky whiskey.
So what's the difference? Because you said that this Irish whiskey is on fire right now. Everybody's getting into it. Why this and not, you know, German whiskey?
Germany's
actually, I would say Kentucky whiskey and Irish whiskey are both on fire, and there's a couple reasons for that. I mean, Scotch whiskey still kind of goes to that older drinker, and the younger generation has not picked up on Scotch, but they have picked up on the bourbon coming from Kentucky whiskey and Irish whiskey as well. And I think the flavor profile is one of the big reasons. And Jason, I mean, what do you think makes those differences?
Well, I mean, Irish whiskey by law is distilled 3 times, which means that it's designed to be very drinkable. It's a softer whiskey. It's easier to handle if you drink it neat on the rocks. It's not as bold as, say, a Scotch, which is only distilled twice, or even American whiskey, which is only distilled once. So Irish whiskey is much more, people kind of go to that, especially if they're not used to drinking whiskey, because its flavor profile kind of works for them.
It's almost it's smoother. And Jason gave a great example. We were talking about this the other day, and he gave the example of spaghetti, in spaghetti sauce. And I mean, trying to really put it in, you know, people talk about distilled, and they don't really know what that means. But, you know, if you think of taking this and making it, and then kind of taking it through, you know, give the example you're talking about.
Well, if you're essentially distilling it, you're making it 3 times. So you're filtering out all the impurities every time you do it.
So you're purifying.
Right. By the 3rd time, you're getting a pretty clean, crisp, easy drinking product. And I think that's why people, especially with Jameson, they kind of tend to gravitate towards that.
Okay, so what are we trying first?
This is just what everybody always sees on the shelf when it comes to Jameson, just their blended whiskey. Their blended Irish whiskey, no age on it per se.
Do you drink it cold or hot, or what's the norm?
We actually chilled these down just because we thought around lunchtime would be a little easier to drink than room temperature.
What about you? How do you drink it?
I usually will drink it with a couple of things of ice, but it'll be at room temperature.
Okay.
So.
Tell me about like the flavors that are in it. I mean, does it all taste the same in a sense, or
well,
what makes it different?
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What makes a difference is the age process and how it's aged. So regular Jameson is aged in sherry casks, certain types. But as you go down the line, the type of wood will change, and wood is what provides the flavor, and the amount of time that it spends in that wood is what helps make that flavor. So Jameson, his frontline Jameson is usually about 7 years old.
Okay.
But not always.
It's amazing what things like whiskey can do to your memory, because my first sip of this just takes me back about 10 years, and I was probably doing bad things.
Or good things, you know, it depends.
Seriously, that first taste, I'm like, oh man, I know exactly where I was.
Are you getting ready to, have you had a taste yet?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Let me try it again. I better.
I mean, that's straight. I mean, that's pretty smooth for me. And I'm not.
Is it?
Whiskey, yeah.
I don't mean it's okay.
All right.
It's all right. It's not my favorite. I wouldn't probably not order this.
Well, most people would order it with
yeah.
something else.
Okay.
So it'd be Jameson and ginger,
Coke or
or
something.
Jameson and
No.
Coke, maybe.
No, maybe not.
No, I mean I'm sure, but order it the way you like it. Honestly.
Okay. Okay.
So, Jason, we're gonna jump into another one. And we've got, like I said, the 12-year, the Gold Reserve. I mean, this is the creme de la creme of the lineup of Jameson. What do you think Kristen should?
Yeah,
should try
make me
next?
like whiskey. I'm trying really hard.
I would try the Gold Reserve.
All right.
Okay.
The Gold Reserve, what makes that difference is it actually comes as 3 different wood processes. So they blend 3 different barrels. So they'll use a virgin oak barrel, which is wood that's never been used before. They'll
Okay.
use a bourbon barrel, and they'll use a sherry cask. Sherry cask usually finishes with a little spiciness.
Uh-huh.
The bourbon provides a little bit of sweetness like vanilla,
Okay.
and the virgin oak makes it just a little more robust. So it just kind of enhances both of those profiles.
What's the difference in price point between like these two different types?
You're looking at Jameson's usually around $20 to $22 a bottle. The Gold Reserve is right around $60 a bottle.
I like the Gold Reserve better. Just it's smoother to me.
Yes.
And not as much as a like, woo, squeeze my tongue aftertaste.
Well, as whiskey ages, it exponentially becomes smoother. I mean,
Okay.
So there's a big difference between the 12-year and the 7-year, and there's a big difference between the 18 and the 12. I mean, the longer it spends time in that barrel, the more mellow, the more easier approach, the more softer the whiskey becomes.
It really rounds out to be, instead of
Yeah.
that younger whiskey, like we all have drank or used to drink, can really just bite you, because of it. But the longer it spends in those casks and ages, it just fills out and gives it that complete
Okay.
flavor profile.
I like the Gold Reserve. I could sip on that.
Well, then we're going to go to the highest level of Jameson next.
Okay.
This is called their Vintage Select,
Okay.
their Vintage Reserve, and it's basically 25-year, Jason.
Yeah, it's mostly about 25-year-old whiskey, but it has some younger and older. So.
How do you know it's really 25 years old? I mean, does anybody make them prove it? That's a long time to have whiskey sitting
Well,
around.
yeah, they're actually the governing agencies within their countries check and make sure that they abide by those laws, because within there, to be able to put these things on the label, they have to abide by the age restrictions, whether it's from Kentucky to Scotland. There's different laws that they have to abide by.
They have a lot of whiskey sitting around.
They do. The most recent Irish law was enacted in 1980. So they have to follow, to Brad's point, they have to follow that very specifically, that standard.
They would not jeopardize their brand or reputation.
Right. This one smells totally different than the other ones to me.
Yes.
I get more depth right off the nose.
Yeah.
Just that.
Yeah. Okay, and this one is the vintage.
This is the
The rarest
vintage,
vintage.
the rarest vintage from Jameson, and we're up to about $2.60.
Oh, holy cow!
$2.60 a bottle on this one.
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know what to say.
It's about 92 proof. That one is versus.
I was gonna guess 137, but whatever you say.
And the last one was 80 proof.
Oh, right on.
So
Okay.
that's where you're gonna get a little more alcohol in there.
All right. Well, we're gonna play a song here. When we come back, you've got a way we can mix this up and enjoy it as a cocktail. Can we say whiskey's a cocktail?
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll do that
A whiskey
next.
cocktail, Irish
right.
whiskey cocktail.
Springfield Rock Station Q102 is Drinking 101 with our friends from Brown Derby. We've got Brad in here, and he brought Jason, who is the whiskey expert over at the Wine Center, where I just found out that you can taste all of these at the tasting bar at the Wine Center. And Jason, are you always there?
It seems like it, but
Hey.
no. I'm there 5 days a week, usually.
Okay, so if people have questions on whiskey or they want to get into it, try different ones, they can come in and ask for you.
Ask for Jason. Matt's there. We got a lot
Okay.
of guys that really enjoy, exposing different people if they're willing to try some different things. Our tasting bar, we call it kind of the best unknown bar in Springfield.
Yeah.
There's probably 50 to 60 different bottles of spirits that we keep there that, if you want to taste before you buy, and we have it there, we'll give you a sample.
I love try before you buy. Okay, what are we trying now? This is your fancy one, right, Jason?
Yeah, this is the Redbreast 12. This was the 2010 Irish Whiskey of the Year.
Okay.
It is a hot commodity right now, mostly because it tastes a little bit different than the Jameson. It's a pot-stilled whiskey, which means that it's made with malted barley, but also unmalted barley. All the other ones were made with just malted barley, which the unmalted gives it a little bit more body, maybe makes them a little more robust. But
it's good. I like it.
Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah, I like that one. It's not bad.
What do you like about it?
It's smooth. I
Yeah.
think it doesn't have much. It's not as the bite. The bite's what gets me on like the Jameson original. That ooh, you know, like when you have something sour or strong and you shake a little.
Well, you have a very good palate, because it's interesting you say that when we do these tastings, and you know, you say something's $200, but people always migrate to the Redbreast from the
Really?
flavor profile.
And how much is that one?
That's what
40, yeah, on sale right now for about 46.
So it's kind of a middle
It's
of the
about a
way.
$50
Yeah.
whiskey,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. What's our cocktail here?
Oh, this is one that Jason came up with himself, called the Irish Pancake.
What do I do with it?
Well, you're going to take it's basically equal parts Jameson,
Cheers.
Cheers.
Equal parts
parts
Jameson.
butterscotch schnapps.
Okay.
And you're going to take the liquid first. You're going to
Okay.
sip it.
Sip it or slam it?
And then you chase with orange juice, and it tastes like breakfast.
Yeah.
Oh my.
It's an Irish pancake.
That is so good. So good. You can find out more about that. We'll post it on the blog later today if you want to make this recipe for yourself. And on a closing note here, what does whiskey mean, Jason?
It is the water of life.
Yes, it is. Thank you, guys.
And water is essential.